Sakarang yata bhutang jnana dasana suvisudang ahom si. Good evening, Dhamma friends, and good morning, everyone who participate in the discussion from Sri Lanka and elsewhere in the Asia or any part of the world that the next day has come up, and we wish everyone peace and happiness, good health, and most importantly, the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. We are going to begin this evening Sutta study class for this week, and it is a class about the second part of the Cula Vedalla Sutta, the Sutta we started to discuss last week from Majjhima Nikaya. To begin with, I just want to pay our due respect to the Supreme Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa in Pali and English. Let us join with us to do that first and very important part of the Sutta discussion. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Dear friends, it's a pleasure to take the second part of the Cula Vedalla Sutta without any interruption, sometime due to different programs and short-term noticed they are always for us to have a different program. Anyway, this week I didn't get anything, so that I'm able to sit with you to explore through the Dhamma in this discourse, the Cula Vedalla Sutta. We came to know about the characters of the discourse last week in details, particularly about Dhammadina, Rahat Therani, and also her former husband. Now in the Sutta character, he is also Anagami. It is not in the Sutta, but both both of them nature has been explained in the commentary, that the Dhammadina attained to arahantship before this, and also well before that, Visakha was an Anagami. So the discussion between two is not only for their benefit, it is for us as well. That's why Venerable Ananda reported this discourse, because at the end of the discourse, it was reported to the Buddha by Visakha, the lay Upasaka of the Buddha, went to the Buddha and reported each and every aspect he discussed, so that the Buddha recommended that this is one of the wonderful piece of Dhamma uttered by Dhammadina, and even if I answer these questions, I would say the same thing the Buddha said, so that it naturally became a kind of sutta that the Buddha recommended, and then Venerable Ananda reported us to understand Dhamma in the Sutta by the title Cula Vedalla. So we were able to discuss these factors of the discourse last week, the Dhamma about self-identity, Sakaya, and then clinging to Sakaya Ditti and clinging it as a big concept, Upadana. Then we discussed about the Noble Eightfold Path, Aryattangika Magga, and also we discussed the nature of mental cultivation, Samadhi, and formation, Sankara, 3 kinds of formation. I think now we begin the discussion from 3 kinds of formation, Sankara. So we are to cover today the Sankara, about the teaching about Sankara and teaching about Sanya, Vedete, Nirodha, cessation of perception and feeling. And we are going to discuss about feeling and also latent tendencies, what we call anusaya, and some sort of patibhaga. It's a minor section where 7 types of short questions are discussed. So we try our best to cover everything as it is, perhaps not going to nitty-gritty details, but main concept. So the teaching about Sankara in the discourse is really interesting, like in Mahavedalla Sutta and elsewhere. Let me get that part. So mental cultivation, right after mental cultivation, in the mental cultivation, we talk about this Sankara. Right after that, the Visakha asked this question: how many kinds of formation are there? We are familiar with this term, formation or mental formation. That is Sankara, the thing that arises based on causes and conditions. The answer is also Visakha. There are 3 kinds of formation. There are 3 kinds of Sankara. What are these 3 kinds of Sankara? Bodily formation, in Pali it is Kaya Sankara, and verbal formation, Vachi Sankara, thought formation, Chitta Sankara. It could be also Mano Sankara, but we use the word here as Sutta says Chitta Sankara. So bodily formation, verbal formation, and mental formation. So sometimes people mixed up these words with Kayika Sankara, Kayika Vachasika Sankara, and Manasika Sankara, something like that. So basically with the first one and the second one, Kayika Sankara and Vachasika Sankara. But with the word Vachasika or Kayika, it basically says what you do using your hands, using your body. But Kaya Sankara is different from that, according to the Dhamma. And Vajasika Sankara, we don't use that word very many in the teaching, but sometimes people mix up that word, Kaika Vajasika Kriya. Kaika Vajasika Kriya means whatever you say with language. But when we come to Vachi Sankara, it's not about the word itself. It's about, what you have in mind, particularly the mind is talking, even without words. That type of situation or the things we discuss under the word Vachi Sankara. Vitakka Vichara. Vitakka Vichara could be in us even when we say no words at all. So that Vitakka Vichara or the Vachi Sankara means no language. But when we say Kaika or Vachasika Sankara, it means you split words out. So we do not want to mix up these terms. But some people, out of lack of knowledge and experience on Dhamma, used to mix these terms. So Basically, three kinds of Sankara are taught in the discourse. Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, and Chitta Sankara or Mano Sankara. What is bodily formation? What is verbal formation? What is thought or formation? So the explanation is given here. In and out breath are bodily formation. Thinking and pondering, Vitakka Vichara, are verbal formation. And Sanya Vedana, perception and feeling, are thought formation. So basically, why we say in and out breathing as Kaya Sankara? In the discourse, it is clearly explained by Dhammadinna, Kayasa Patipada, Assasa Passasa. This body is depending on the in and out breath. That's why the in and out breath is being explained as Kaya Sankara. What this body made is called Kaya Sankara, and it is the in and out breathing. So verbal formation, before you split word out from your mouth, with any language you speak, you have this intention in mind and create an idea in mind. So all kinds of signs, symbols are created in the mind. Actually, the language is nothing but rupa, in other words. So this is being created in mind so that you speak. So before you speak that language from your mouth, you have this thinking and pondering. That is called Vachi Sankara. And the subtle level of our mind is perception and thinking. That's why it is said in the Cheto Vimutti, that the last one, before you attain to the last Cheto Vimutti, Sanya Vedana Nirodha, you ceased Sanya Vedana both together. You stop feeling perception. You stop feeling perception. That's called Sanya Vedana. Sanya Vedana Nirodha, cessation of perception and feeling. You stop both. So at the highest level of highest level of liberating your mind from something is happening there. That's why perception and feeling are the subtle level of our natural mind, the common mind. So these are the three kinds of Sankara in with details. So then the question followed by that is, why are the in and out breath bodily formation? Why are thinking and pondering verbal formation? Why are perception and feeling thought formation? Let's see what the Venerable Dhammadinna has to say. In the in and out breath, Visakha, these are states bound up with the body. Therefore, they are bodily formation. So they are attached to this body. So that means in and out breathing is physical. In and out breathing is physical because it's clearly see that it is one of the elements of the four elements, and the four elements are physical matters. So that it is bound to this body. That's why it's called Kaya Sankara. Also, Visakha, one having first thought and pondered, then breaks out into speech. Therefore, thinking and pondering are verbal formation. These explanations are excellent, better than we explain. So that you better keep the Sutta statements in your mind to get them later to keep them in your mind for Dhamma reflection. The perception and feeling are, these are mentally connected states bound with the mind. Therefore, perception and feeling are thought formation. They are very clear. So you find out this Sankara in different form and different words when it comes to Punyabhi Sankara, Apunyabhi Sankara, and Anenjabi Sankara. Punyabhi Sankara, Apunyabhi Sankara, and Anenjabi Sankara. So that is the classification of Sankara depending on ignorance. So when we have ignorance as the gearing and governing, thoughts or thought processes in our mind, we produce one of these: Punyavi Sankara, Apunyavi Sankara, and then Aninjavi Sankara. So when you attain to Arahantship, it means that you have destroyed the ignorance totally. There is no Punyavi Sankara, no Apunyavi Sankara, no Aninjavi Sankara. No, Sankara is being totally ceased when you attain to Arahantship, including ignorance, so that no Punyavi Sankara, no Apunyavi Sankara, no Aninjavi Sankara. So that classification is different. It is based on the quality of Sankara. This is the whole map of Sankara. But when we take this classification in the Cula Vedalla Sutta, Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, Chitta Manu Sankara, some people disagree with the explanation because it is subtle to understand. Some people do not understand this. But if you analyze this from the bottom of the Dhamma, you can see that, yes, Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, Chitrasankar. And the reason why this explained here in this context, why Visakha, the non-returner, asked this question from the Arahant Dhammadina, because only non-returners and also Arahants know about how to attain Sanya Vedita Nirodha. Nobody else can do that. No Sotapanna, no Sakadagami could do that. Basically, according to the available information, only Anagami and Arahant can attain to Sanyavedeta Nirodha. Most probably, those non-returners could be able to attain Arahantship when they come out of Sanyavedeta Nirodha, and because of the power of, because they ceased all kinds of Sankara for a number of time, for a number of days. And once they came out of it, their nature is discussed in this very sutta as Sunyata, Animitta, Appanihita. These three terms explain the nature of Nibbana: Sunyata, Animitta, and Appanihita. I'm going to explain them later on when the particular section come into discussion. So basically, so this Sankara is being explained in such a way to clear the path for both great disciples, Visakha, layman, and also Arahant Dhammadina, to discuss about the Sanya Vedita Nirodha after this. So now it's been very clear that Sankara has different explanation, and this is the subtle level of Sankara. Now we go to the section where Sanya Vedita Nirodha is being discussed in a magnificent way. Even though we haven't gone that far yet in Cheto Vimutti, let's understand these attainments. You may heard about the Buddha meditated for 7 days and came out of that particular absorption, Sanya Vedita Nirodha. Perhaps you heard about Venerable Sariputta, Mahakassapa, Moggallana. They also did that. Who knows how many Arahants, Bhikkhus and Bhikkhunis did that. So I think this had been done by many Arahants because they want to experience that total separation from even physical, normal, average physical activities from their life. When you attain to Sanya Vedita Nirodha, you're just like a dead body. But it is not a dead body because three qualities exist while three qualities completely ceased on. So we can go into details now. How does the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling occur? The other thing I just want to tell you that Visakha is testing Venerable Dhammadina. We discussed that last week, that Visakha being a non-returner is eager to check the status of Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna, because Dhammadinna came to the city to see the Buddha, to pay her due respect to the Buddha in a short period of time. Visakha, being the former husband, who made, who helped, who gave permission, Dhammadinna to ordain and make all kinds of preparation for her to ordain, wished to know whether she failed, because she came quickly, maybe in a month or 2 months' time from her retreat at the Bhikkhuni monastery. So now Visakha wants to ask these subtle questions about Sankara, about Sanya, Vedetta, Nirodha, feeling, perception, and so forth, just to check which state Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna actually lives in, or whether she has failed. So far, according to my understanding, up to this level, Visakha, being a very wise person, realizes that Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna is a great Bhikkhuni. But it's not mentioned here. No words is being uttered by Visakha yet. Even when you go to the end of the discourse, Dhammadinna Bhikkhuni, when Visakha asked the question about Nirvana, she said, it's up to you to believe or accept what I say or not. If you do not believe on my words, go to the Buddha and say everything I said. So whatever the Buddha said, accept it. That's what the Buddha said. So these kind of discussions shows us that Visakha wanted to check the attainment of the nature of Venerable Bhikkhuni's mind and her spiritual strength. So now, what does the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling occur? How does the attainment? Yeah. So Visakha, in a monk who is attaining the cessation of perception and feeling, it does not occur to him thus. So when the monk or bhikkhuni goes to attain to this particular Sanya Vedetta Nirodha, he or she doesn't, do this. I will attain the cessation of perception and feeling. He or she does not think about it in such a way that I'm going to attain to cessation of perception and feeling. I am not attaining the cessation of perception and feeling. Putting the things into the future, suppose right now it's 8:20 here. So you are going to do this by 9 p.m. So right now you don't say, I will attain to the cessation of perception and feeling. Suppose you spend 40 minutes and now you're at 9 p.m. So you are not telling that I am going to attain the cessation of perception and feeling and he or she is not going to tell this too. I have attained the cessation of perception and feeling. The reason is said here. Rather, his mind has been cultivated before that before that naturally gets into that state. So now you can understand that you cannot attain to the cessation of perception and feeling without the practicing 4 jhanas and also for Rupa jhana and for Arupa jhana. You have to be a master on 8 attainments well before even to try this the cessation of perception and feeling. So one who attains to those 8 jhanas, not once, many times. So now you are a matured person on the attainment to 8 jhanas. First 4 jhanas, then akasananchayatana, vinyananchayatana, akinchanyayatana, nevasanyayatana. Now, because of this training, because of the maturity on these things, you even for the first time you attain to Sanya Vedetta Nirodha, you are going to do it. But be careful to say this. The one who has not attained to Anagami or any Arahantship, we don't see any evidences in the teaching that the Sotapanna bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and lay people, and then Sakadagami bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and lay people do not attain to this state. Only Anagamis and also Arhants attain to this particular cessation of perception and feeling. The reason is being discussed in the commentary very clearly that the Anagami has eradicated the Pancha Orambagya Sanyojana. Sakkayaditthi, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa, Kamaraga Patika. The one who destroyed Kamaraga and Patika and also Sakkayaditthi do not have this notion called I, me, and myself. And he has no, or he has no, or she has no that instinct in the mind to have any karma, any no anger, no karma exists in her mind, so that his mind naturally inclined to higher state of samadhi. So again, we don't say that each Anagami could do that, because some Anagamis are not practicing that much of those Akasananchayatana, Vinyananchayatana, Akinchanayatana, Nevasanyayatana, along with those jhanas as they explain, but they have the jhana quality. They have completed the samadhi section into a great extent, but they are not very skillful on attaining this level. But you could see Velukantaki Nandamata basically attain to 4 jhanas easily, quickly, and also Chitta, the layman Chitta and Dhammika Upasaka, they are recorded that they could attain to those states, but we don't see them doing Sanya Vedata Nirodha as a practice. But commentary hints that Sanya Anagamis, some Anagamis can do it. But when they come to normal life, from this cessation of perception and feeling, they are going to be basically they are going to be an Aran, but that is also from the commentary, not from the Sutta. So actually we are discussing something very something above our perception, because other states like Samadhi, Jhana are able to understand better than it. But this state is very, very special, and we're not having much information. We may be in confusion sometime. Anyway, but try to understand what the Sutta says. So when a monk is, so basically the monk or the nun or anyone who attained to this state of Samadhi never thought about it that I attain to, I will attain to, I am attained to, because the level of perception, basically the perception and feeling are subsided or stopped, cease for 7 days, so that there is no, and Vitaka Vichara are gone, so that you cannot say exactly I am here and so on, because you are just like a vegetable. So that you cannot say this, I attained, I have already attained Sanya Vedati. No one can speak a word, because Sankara, all kind of Sankaras are ceased, including in and out breathing. The one who attained to Sanya Vedata Nirodha never breathe in and breathe out. So their bodies are in a state of hibernation, so that their physical senses are not dying. Then in the what do you call heat element is not gone from the body, and also lifespan is not gone. Only these three that is being discussed in the discourse. So when a monk is attaining cessation of perception and feeling, which states in first bodily formation, verbal formation, thought formation. The question is about which state sees first out of these 3 sankaras. When a monk is attaining cessation of perception and feeling, Visakha, verbal formation end first, then bodily formation, then thought formation. First thing going away from out of these 3 sankara is Vachi Sankara, when the bhikkhu or bhikkhuni who attend to Sanya Vedita Nirodha does that when she moves her state of mind from first jhana to second jhana. So it is easily understood because we see this statement avitakka avichar. In the first jhana we have savitakka and savichar, but when you go to the second jhana, we put in front of both terms to say that vitakka vichara are subsided when you attain to the second jhana. So Vachi Sankar is being ended by the attainer to the Sanya Vedita Nirodha when he or she moves from first jhana to second jhana. That is the first one that is going to end. And the second one is bodily formation. That is in and out breathing. Okay, in and out breathing. That is being subsided when, let me see the information. So as I remember, it's not here. As I remember, it is when one attains to fourth jhana, and when you move from move from fourth jhana to next level of the attainment, it is been done. But this happens only when one attains to all these stages of Sanya Vedita Nirodha. In other words, when one goes from all the jhanas aiming the Sanya Vedita Nirodha, this thing happened. But those who attain to fourth jhana to practice Dhamma very much, they are not doing that. It is not found any discourse. For example, if you look at Anapanasati Sutta or elsewhere where jhanic experiences are discussed, even when the Buddha attained to enlightenment, he was in the fourth jhana, and from fourth jhana he directed his mind to other three knowledges. We don't see that this kaya sankara in and out breathing are stopped there. But when you attain to Sanya Vedita Nirodha, it means you are cutting off of the connection you have to the normal natural world, both physically and mentally and verbally. So you are cutting off of the connection. So Kaya Sankaro, in and out breathing, is stopped at the fourth jhana when he or she moves from there. Then the Chitrasankar, thought formation, is being stopped from when he or she attained to Sanya Vedita Nirodha from the Neva Sanya, Nya Sanya. So that's how the three kind of formation are being seized by the attainer to Sanya Vedita Nirodha. And how does emergence from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling occur? So the answer is Visakha. In a monk who is emerging from the cessation of perception and feeling, it does not occur to him thus: I will emerge from the attainment of cessation of perception and feeling. I am emerging, I have no. So like before, there is no such intention is being made in his or her mind, so it happens naturally. The reason why they have been in the previous samadhi's attainment or ayatana quite often, and now they are in nirvana. Actually, to me, this Sanya Vedita Nirodha is advanced experience of nirvana. So nirvana is being attained, but when you go to the very subtle level of it, you have this. So that when you emerge from that particular state, you are not having that intention at all. Rather, his mind has been so cultivated before that it naturally gets into that state. That's what Bhikkhuni Dhammadina says. So related questions after that is, when a monk is emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, which state arise first? So the Visakha asked the question, which state end first, and after that what happened? And now when emerging happens, which state arise first, and after that which state come followed by that? So the answer is, from a monk, for a monk, emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, also Visaka, thought formation arises first, and then bodily formation, and then the verbal formation. So the order is same as before. What arises first is what ceases at last. So thought formation come first, then the bodily formation, then verbal formation. So interestingly, what is said after that is this: a monk who has emerged from the attainment of cessation of perception and feeling, also Visaka, three kinds of contact touch him. Very important. I said this before. When you emerge from the Sanya Vedeta Nirodha, three things touch your mind. What are the three things? Sunyata passa, Animitta passa, and Appanita passa. Emptiness, signless, and undirected. Appanita. So these are the three things you feel in a short form, in a simple word. So you feel empty. You feel empty from self, empty from I, me, and myself. Basically, we can think that no Sakadagami, Sakurdagami could have this because of this reason. Sunyata means empty from self. So basically, even Sakurdagami has that intention of karma and particle into a 50%, I would say, because when you attain to Sakadagami, what you destroy from the fourth and fifth fetter is half of them, so that you have some sense of karma, some sense of particle in your mind. But attainment to Anagami and basically an Arahant, they don't have that notion, so that you are experiencing Sunyata. You have Sunyata in your mind. And signless, Animitta, not Nimitta. So Anicca is being completely experienced now, so that you, whatever you see, whatever you hear, you don't grasp any nimitta on that. Right? Basically, those bhikkhus like Venerable Sariputta, Mahakassapa, I cannot remember the other names. As soon as they finished the 7 days retreat with Sanya Vedeta Nirodha, they quickly went on Pindapata, because their body was not with the food, not with the water, or any other thing for 7 days. What they require now is food for the material body. So that soon after they arose from their attainment to Sanya Vedeta Nirodha, they went on Pindapata, they drink water and so forth. So when they look at water, when they look at food, when they take the bowl, when they see people, animals, trees, anything in the nature, they don't have nimitta. Their mind inclined to animitta samadhi, sunyata samadhi, in other words. And appanihita means there is no iota of any unsatisfactoriness, the total opposite of dukkha. When a monk has emerged from the attainment of perception and feeling, to what does his mind bend? To what does it slow? To what does it tend? That is the next question asked by Visakha. The mind of a monk who has emerged from the attainment of perception and feeling, also Visakha, bend to solitude, slope to solitude, tend to solitude. So seclusion or solitude is the real nature of that particular bhikkhu or bhikkhuni's mind. Know anything. It could be understood very easily with this example. Suppose you go to a meditation, or you start meditation on your own at home. It works well. So after 1 hour or 30 minutes, you wake up, from the samadhi you experience, and started doing other activities, cleaning, washing yourself, and going out with your car, driving, still you have that happy thoughts for hours and hours, just because the power of samadhi or jhana you experience. Likewise, how this is the highest state of samadhi. This is the highest state of chetomudhi. So when you come out, even if you come out, that taste, that experience is not going away from you. Look at this attainment is taken by the anagami or arhants, so that we can easily understand that their nature basically is peaceful. Anyway, the question is asked, what kind of things these people have in their mind, which kind of mental state they have. So the answer is solitude, seclusion. It's a kind of very nice state they have in their mind. That is the answer. So that is the end of the Sanya Vedeta Nirodha section in the Sutta. So if you have any concern and questions about it, you may ask, or you may comment, you may add certain things if you know some interesting thing about it. It's true that is way beyond many people's understanding, because this is very subtle, and we do not find many information about this in the entire Tripitaka, except few pages like this. So that is one thing to understand this. One thing is too difficult to understanding this particular thing, and the other thing is we don't find monks and nuns and lay people who talk about them in public, because they are not discernible easily. So if you don't have anything with regard to that, I may go to the next session in the discourse. It is about Vedana. The questions are about Vedana. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. So I think Dr. Pial has shared something on the chatting box. You may
yeah,
go and...
that's a research paper on Sanya with the Nirodha Samapatti, 7 days. This just came out recently, and scientists are beginning to understand this process, and they're probing into that. You know, that's just that's nothing to do with the sutra, but it's interesting how they are into it now.
Thank you very much for sharing. And before we end the sutta discussion, you may click on it and go to it. Otherwise, you are going to lose it. So anybody who like to read the research paper on Sanya Vedeta, basically what they have done should be gone through in order to see what they have found out. So click on that, please.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you. So the feeling Vedana, one of the interesting subject I personally do in my meditation as well as reading, because it is something I understand better than some other section. I think you also understand it well. Now, how many kinds of feeling are there? Visakha asked from Venerable Dhammadinna. Basically, the answer is very simple. 3 kinds of feeling. Sukha Vedana, pleasant feeling. Dukkha Vedana, painful feeling. Adukkama Sukha Vedana, neither pleasant nor painful feeling. That is we all know. What now are pleasant feeling, painful feeling, neither pleasant nor painful feeling? That question should be very interesting. Whatever also is felt bodily, mentally as pleasant or agreeable, this is called pleasant feeling. Bodily and mentally as painful and pleasant and agreeable. Whether it is physical or mental, it should be pleasant and agreeable, and that's called pleasant feeling. Whatever also Visakha is felt bodily or mentally as painful and disagreeable, this is painful feeling. In Pali, it is called kaikang and chetasikang, bodily and mental. So it should be agreeable or disagreeable. It is called pleasant feeling, sukha vedana, or painful or disagreeable. It is called unpleasant feeling, dukkha vedana. Also, Visakha, whatever is felt bodily and mentally as being neither disagreeable nor agreeable, this is neither pleasurable nor painful feeling. Adukka musukha vedana. I guess you get understand everything so far. Now, regarding pleasant feeling, what is pleasant? What is painful? Now it is very interesting. Now it is very interesting. Regarding pleasant feeling, what is pleasant and what is unpleasant? Regarding painful feeling, what is painful, what is pleasant? Regarding neutral feeling, what is pleasant and what is painful? With this explanation, we understand a huge scope of Vedana. Try to read through. Pleasant feeling is pleasant when it persists, painful when it changes. So read the lines very slowly. Pleasant feeling is pleasant when pleasantness exists or persists. When pleasantness is gone, pleasant feeling is not pleasant anymore. That is what it is. Painful feeling naturally is painful because pain is there. When painfulness is there, it is painful. But there is a pleasantness in painful feeling as well. What is the pleasantness of painful feeling? It is the changing of painful feeling is pleasant. In other words, when pain exists in us, it is not pleasant at all. It is painful. But the painfulness of pain, see, in a simple word, pain changes. It should go either to pleasant feeling or neutral feeling. It is a pleasant experience. That is what it is. Now we go to the third one. Neutral feeling is pleasant when there is knowledge about it. Neutral feeling is pleasant so long we understand the nature of neutral feeling. It is painful when we do not know about it. This is being discussed also in Indriya Bhavana Sutta into a certain extent. In an indirect way. So once again, let me read through. Pleasant feeling is pleasant when pleasantness persists. It could be painful when pleasant feeling is gone. Pleasantness is gone. It becomes unpleasant. Painful feeling is painful when pain exists or pain persists, pain continues, in other words, and painful feeling is going to be pleasant when pain is going to end. And neutral feeling is good or very pleasant when we know about it, but it's going to be painful when we do not know about it. Why does this question about feeling asked by Visakha? Because it is really connected to the rest of the Dhamma we already discussed, as well as we are going to discuss. And it is a question to check whether somebody understand about feeling Vedana. It is one of the aggregates, and simply thinking, we can understand that if somebody is aware of the feeling aggregate, he or she is going to actually tackle everything well. He is going to understand or maintain his whole life very well with the Dhamma, because the Vedana Paccha Tanna, Vedana give birth to Tanna. If you know how to deal with Vedana, you are going to stop Tanna also. If you stop Tanna, you can stop Upadana, you can stop Bhava, you can stop Jati, you can stop all kinds of suffering. So, between the Vedana and Tanna, there's a very important connections we all should understand. So that if you know Vedana, you are going to know very many things in the entire teaching. Venerable Sariputta attained to Arhanship, being a Sotapanna, while he was listening to a full discourse about Vedana from the Buddha. So many people took this Vedana Anupasana into their contest, into their reflection, to either to cross over from their state of mind from mundane to supramundane. Even in mundane experience, supramundane experiences, they went from next level to by doing this Vedana Anupasana. So that it is a huge topic related to everything. And next section in the sutta is about anusaya, latent tendencies. Something difficult to understand for some people, but work on that so that you may understand the anusaya as a subject of Dhamma. Now, what latent tendency lies in pleasant feeling? See how related they are? What latent tendency, what anusaya lies in a pleasant feeling? What latent tendency lies in painful feeling? What latent tendency lies in neutral feeling? This is the question. The answer is latent tendency of lust, Raganuse, lies in a pleasant feeling. Latent tendency of aversion, Patiganuse, lies in a painful feeling. Latent tendency of ignorance, Avijjanuse, lies in a neutral feeling. Let me explain this simple term as I understand. When you have lobha, dosa, moha, right? When you have lobha, dosa, moha, there you have pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. So in normal context, people like pleasant feeling. People encourage for pleasant feeling. Kama asava, or experiencing karma, is appreciated by the society. But what we have now with karma asava is pleasant feeling, and pleasant feeling is because of latent tendency raga anusaya. Because of raga, in a subtle way of our mind, we have pleasant feeling. If you have pleasant feeling and you accept it from every means, and there you have tanha, then there you have upadan, then that's because of raga anusaya, and there is nothing to celebrate there, because there is raga developing in your mind, there's a lobha developing in your mind. That's why the Buddha said to Lady Visakha, and basically to friends of Visakha, by the Buddha, Konu haso kimanando nichang pajjalite sati. One day, a huge group of friends of Visakha, Lady Visakha, came to the monastery. It is said that they have drunk alcohol a little bit, and right after that they came to the Jetwanarami, and they were unable to discipline themselves, because when you are intoxicated, when you are indulged with something like that, you are not yourself. So that these ladies were smiling, laughing, making jokes, and looking at this, the Buddha said that Konuhaso Krimanando Nichang Pajjalite Sati. Is there anything for us to enjoy in this life? Is there anything for us to delighted in this life? Because this life is always burning with raga. Raga is a fire, lobha is a fire. So that there is nothing to enjoy in this life, according to the basic spiritual essence of the Buddha's teaching. So that when we have karma, or when we have pleasant feeling, it is because of latent tendency of raga in the bottom of our mind. When we have angry mind, when we have ill will, that is because of patiga, latent tendency of patiga or aversion in our mind. And neutral feeling is because of ignorance as the latent tendency. So now we can understand the what we see is pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling. But what we have under that is raga, the patiga, and avijja. Right? So in the commentary, and of course the fact that we all understand from jhana, when you attain to first jhana, you temporarily stop developing, I would say, developing raganuse, patiganuse, and avijjanuse. That's why the first jhana, attainment to samadhi, is important. Visuddhimagga explained this very clearly in the section where they talk about latent tendencies. So, attainment to first jhana, you stop pancha nivarana. Pancha nivarana are the agents of anusaya and asava and sangyojana. So that when you temporarily stop nivarana, 5 hindrances, you suppress the development of development of anusaya, latent tendency. So that's why we are encouraged to do samadhi always, because you live without the development of latent tendencies even for a short period of time, which is good. That is also explained in many places, including Mahasatchaka Sutta and Arya Parishena Sutta. The Bodhisattva thought that this experience of samadhi is good because there is no progression of any craving. It is away or beyond from nivarana. So that I should attain to this. This could be the path for enlightenment. That is how the Bodhisattva took the final effort to enlighten. So, is the latent tendency of lust latent? Is the latent tendency of lust latent in all pleasant feeling? Is the latent tendency of aversion latent in all painful feeling? Is the latent tendency of ignorance latent in all neutral feeling? It means all pleasant feeling do all pleasant feeling based on latent tendency of lust? Do all kinds of painful feeling based on or come from latent tendency of patiga? Do all kinds of neutral feeling come from the latent tendency of ignorance? That's the next question. Latent tendency of lust is not latent in all pleasant feeling. It means all pleasant feeling do not come from the latent tendency of lust. All painful feeling do not come from the latent tendency of aversion. All neutral feeling do not come from the latent tendency of ignorance. Why? How? Because pleasant feeling in samadhi, now answer is very clear when we analyze it. When we attain to first jhana, there is piti sukha. Piti sukha are about pleasant feeling, but that pleasant feeling is not coming from the latent tendency of lust. In Indriya Bhavana Sutta, you come across this word, Upekka Vedana. I cannot remember the exact word now. Indriya Bhavana Sutta is a wonderful discourse. That's last discourse of the Majjhima Nikaya. It says this. If I get quickly this one. Yeah, this is the one. Etang santang etang panidang yadidang upekka. Tasatang uppannang manapang uppannang manapang uppannang. Okay. Pekka santati. So when you go beyond the pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, and neutral feeling, upekka, a type of feeling arises in your mind beyond these three type of feeling. And there you have pleasant feeling, but it is not geared by the Raganuse. And all kinds of painful feeling do not come from the latent tendency of Patiganusaya, because you have come across Dukkha Vedana arising from not having any state you are looking for. For example, suppose you are in Sotapanna state, or you are in Sakadagami state. Perhaps you are in you are in those states. You are trying to attain enlightenment, but you may not be able to. You try a lot, but you are unable to. There you have kind of unpleasant feeling. That is called Niramisa Domanas. When you analyze Vedana into 108 or 100, Vedana is being categorized by the Buddha as one section, as two section, as three, as 5, as 6, and 18, and 36, and then 108 maximum. When you look at those categorization, you can see Niramisa Dukkha, which means you are in a particular higher mental state. You are trying to go from there to next level, and it is unable due to some causes and conditions. So there you have a kind of Niramisa Dukkha. So these kind of Niramisa Dukkha, the unpleasant feeling, are not from the latent tendency of Patika. And neutral feeling, they are, all of them are not based on ignorance, latent tendency of ignorance. And in a state like Upekka Vedana, and there are little information are there for that. But anyway, there are such neutral feeling as well. So now what should be abandoned with regard to pleasant feeling? What should be abandoned with regard to painful feeling? What should be abandoned with regard to neutral feeling? The answer is, with regard to pleasant feeling, the latent tendency of lust should be abandoned. Yes, when we have pleasant feeling, what we need to abandon there is the latent tendency of lust. Friends, this is able to explain, but very difficult to practice. When we go to practical level, you have to have a very particular mindful, concentrated mind in order to do this. No average people, no people who have been in the training with usual things can do that. You have to experience, you have to practice Satipatthana into a greater extent, in my understanding, in order to do this. So if you are able to do abandoning latent tendency of lust with regard to pleasant feeling, you are of course attainment to stages of enlightenment. So it is very subtle. But for theory and practice, please keep in mind that we have to let go of latent tendency of lust in pleasant feeling. In other words, in order to practice this, even in a minor way, when you have pleasant feeling, understand that, oh, this is pleasant feeling. This is what you call aswad. This is so pleasant. But Buddha has said this. Venerable Dhammadinna pointed out this for us, so that I should not enjoy that very pleasantness in the pleasant in this particular feeling. So you are slowly moving from that. It means, in other words, you have mindfulness there, you have yoniso manasikar there, you let your yoniso manasikar act there to make you away from the attachment of pleasant feeling. So that is how you get away from the latent tendency of lust there in the pleasant feeling. Likewise, when you have unpleasant feeling, latent tendency of aversion should be abandoned. And with neutral feeling, be mindful about the neutral feeling, have the full comprehension about it, so that you let go of ignorant part of it. So now, must all the latent tendency of lust be abandoned with regard to the pleasant feeling? Must all the latent tendency of aversion be abandoned with regard to the painful feeling? Must all the latent tendency of ignorance be abandoned with regard to neutral feeling? Also, Visakha, not all pleasant feeling have a latent tendency of lust that should be abandoned. Not all painful feeling. So, see how wise Visakha also to ask these questions. And see how intelligent Damadina Bhikkhuni to answer these questions without any puzzle. You can see how great they are. So the question is whether all latent tendencies, in other, this is a simple way. Suppose we have all kinds of pleasant feeling. Do we have to let go of latent tendency of lust in each pleasant feeling? No, because we have pleasant feeling without latent tendency of lust. We discussed that. So that in some pleasant feeling, you don't have latent tendency of lust, so that you don't have anything to abandon there. In some painful feeling, you don't have latent tendency of aversion, so that you don't have anything to abandon there. In some neutral feeling, you don't have latent tendency of ignorance, so that you don't have anything to abandon there. Here, Visakha, a monk quite detached from sensual pleasures, detached from unwholesome mental state, enters and dwells in the first jhana, accompanied by initial application and sustained application, accompanied by joy, by cess, joy, and born from seclusion. In that way, he abandoned lust, no latent tendency of lust lies there. See, I told you this. When you attain to first jhana, you don't have latent tendency of lust there. So very clear. Now you know the path to abandon anusaya, raga anusaya, patika anusaya, avidya anusaya, attain to first jhana. It is a temporary state, but before you go to complete liberation, just experience the temporary state. When we go to Olympic, when we go to play such game, we have to win the games in regional level, provincial level, national level. So you be the national player in order to complete the requirement for going Olympic. So going Olympic and winning a medal is like attaining nirvana. So well before that, you have to have the winning moments in regional, national level. So it's like attainment to jhana, right? There you let go of latent tendency of lust, latent tendency of aversion, latent tendency of ignorance. So if this is too fast, and if this is not a good time for you to understand these terms, please take the Cula Vedalla Sutta, either English version or Sinhala version, read through slowly. If you are a person who have come across these terms theoretically into a certain extent practically, reading makes sense a lot because you understand them. Otherwise, they are like something never heard about. So let me read this one line. So here also Visakha monk considered us. Now, when shall I attain and dwell in that mental base that the noble one attain and dwell in whom there arises such a desire for establishment in the supreme liberation. So liberation, sorrow arises on account of that desire. See, I told you this. This is how painful feeling arises in people who have done something in the training, in whom there arises such a desire for being established in the supreme liberation. Sorrow arises on account of that desire. In that way, he abandoned aversion. No latent tendency of aversion lies in the end. So you try your best to reach the next level, but you are unable to. So that you feel that painful feeling, but there is something you now abandon there, that is the latent tendency of aversion there. So likewise, we have the teaching with regard to fourth jhana here. Here also Visakha, with the abandoning of joy and abandoning of pain, and with the earlier disappearance of pleasure and displeasure, a monk attains and dwells in the fourth jhana, that is neither painful nor pleasant, and with mindful, fully purified of equanimity. In that way, he abandoned ignorance. So, latent tendency of our lust is abandoned when you attain to first jhana, but for temporary period. Latent tendency of aversion also is abandoned with the attainment of first jhana, and latent tendency of ignorance is suppressed when you attain the fourth jhana. That is what Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna says. So now it's 9:10, and we can have a discussion now if there is any concern. But remember, this is very subtle. The section we cover today is very subtle, and we missed only one last section. I think you can read through that. Yeah, Dr. Piyal.
Bante, interesting sutra, and I guess my question is these three shunyata and apanita and animita, they are like in the cusp of unbinding. These are samadhi states. Now, I mean, shunyata and I guess animita or signless, we can kind of understand a little bit, but I'm just got confused about this. Why is apanita is translated as undirected? What does it really mean, apanita?
Actually, that's a very good question and very deep question too. Let me try answering this. Sunyata, Animita, Apanihita, these three should be understood with the Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. So, Anicca, when we have Anicca understanding or the understanding of impermanence, we have Animitta as a sense in our mind. In other words, when we practice Anicca Sanya on anything and everything, the essence we get or the experience we have in our mind is signlessness, Animitta Samadhi. And when we practice Anatta Sanya, the Sunyata is the quality we experience. And when we practice Dukkha, when we understand Dukkha from the subtle level, Sankara, Dukkha as a Sankara, there you don't enjoy anything at all like many people do. Panihita, the very word Panihita is you find something pranita on it. But when you come to Apanihita, that means you don't have that pleasantness, that enjoyment at all in your, because you have everything as dukkha, as sankara. So I don't agree with this. I don't understand this English term undirected. It is very ambiguous, very confusing. But when you read the Pali and Sinhala version, you get it very well. So I don't know why they use this term undirected, because the directed and undirected we use it for something else. Basically.
Is it all like Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation is also same, or this is Thanisara
I think even Bhikkhu Thanisara, I cannot. That's a
this
good
is Thanisara
question
Bhikkhu,
to
so I'm
explore.
reading. undirected.
Yeah, maybe I have to look into that.
Are you reading Thanisaro Bhikkhu's?
Basically, yes.
Yes. Okay. The same thing. I looked
Yeah.
at it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll look at it later. Yeah.
Yes,
No, it's
yes.
just one question. And yeah. So Indy
Very
had some
good.
question.
No, Bhante, when you said the Lady Visakha came to Jethavanarama with her friends, who
No,
the friends were
actually,
drunk.
it is
The
only actually friends of Visakha. I cannot remember whether Visakha was there.
Okay.
Okay, must
Yes.
be because she was Sotapanna, right? At
Yeah,
7.
yeah,
She won't be
she
drinking.
never does that kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
These friends of Visakha were not even, I think they were very good people. They were devoted, but they may not, for sure, they didn't attain to Sotapanna.
That's right. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. That is from Dhammapada. It is a Dhammapada stanza. I think it's, I cannot remember the exact word. Konuhaso Kimanando Nichang Pajalite Sati Andakarena Onadda Padipanna Gaveshata. That's what the Buddha said.
So this the Visakha is Anagami and Dhammadinna is Arahat. So when they are discussing this Animitta Samadhi states, maybe Visakha understands when maybe he have attained like to a certain degree, maybe not. We don't know, right? In this, but he question asked. He's asking this question. He must know something, right? He must have sensed something.
Of course, yes. From the very question, from the very question for answer, I think he got into the idea that Dhammadinna could be a very highly advanced bhikkhuni.
Mm-hmm. But it's good that he asked all the questions because it explained everything.
Okay, Bhante. I'll let others go.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is Sister Chandrani.
Sure.
Venerable Sir, now when we take this Animitta, Apanitta and Sunyata, isn't it when we select the last after being like we are in a certain level of Samadhi, either fourth jhana, first jhana, second jhana or third, we start proceeding along developing the jhana. Isn't it at that point that we use like Deva and all, it is anicca and not seeing the person and understanding there's no person, it is all Hetupala and all aggregate and all, everything that Dhamma explains, we understand there's no person. That is another way of proceeding. Is it here that we, in practical way, is it at this point that we use one of these to proceed to Nibbana?
Actually, due to some disturbances on my devices here, I could not get part of your question, but I try my best to answer. If I do not answer your questions, you can reinstate. Look at the anicca, dukkha and anatta. So the way the Buddha asks us to practice them, basically it would be easy for many people to understand anicca first. Relatively it is easier.
Yes.
Right? So because everything is
that's
breakable.
Right. We go for Udeva and all that.
Yeah, Udayavaya. We have to look at everything as Udayavaya and Sankara and so forth, so that we are to understand that nothing is permanent, nothing is going to exist. So that from there onward, we can see that then we should not be worried about this. People can die, people can get into sicknesses, and Panchupadanakkanda is such and such. So you see the impermanence on suffering state there, so that both should be addressed together in my view, so that finally you decide that there is no I is a construction of our ignorant mind, because you see the impermanence, you see the fundamental unsatisfactory nature of Sankara. So that as a realization, you came through all the way anicca and dukkha, and realization is coming with the anatta. So because we have the notion of nicca, sukha, atta. So that's how we have bound to this world. Nicca, sukha, atta. So what we have to break down first is nicca. So that you break down immediately with that sukha and atta also. But when we come to meditation subjects, depending on people's skills, some people take anatta as their meditation subject. They are more skillful to see anatta than other two. It could be happen, but what is happening in their mind, even if they want to fully train anatta sanya in their mind, they have to indirectly see anicca and dukkha.
And another question I have is, actually it is the 5 aggregates we are considering, and in the 5 aggregates we can see that how upadana takes place, and this is one way of understanding really what is pancha upadana skandha is, either by anicca or anatta or dukkha. Because at the end, becoming arahant means that you have no more clinging to the 5 aggregates. Isn't that right, Venerable?
Say it again, last couple of words.
There's no more clinging to the 5 aggregates. And this happens understanding that anicca, dukkha, anatta of this. That's what I understood.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there is no disagreement with that. It is true, very true, that the hub of reflection is pancha upadana skandha. To complete our reflection, or to do it well 100%, we have to have mindfulness, we have to have samadhiti, yoniso manasikara, and all sort of things. What we see on pancha upadana skandha is as a result of these qualities is anicca, dukkha, and anatta. Again, pancha upadana skandha is the focus, with the support of samadhiti, sammavayama, sammasati, and so forth, and sammasamadhi. There, what we see on pancha upadana skandha is anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And when you see clearly that these 5 aggregates of clinging are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self, there you break the chain to those 5 panchaskandha. Chain means upadana is broken. When upadana is broken, avidya is also broken, and tanha is also broken. When upadana is broken, it means you destroy all kinds of latent tendencies and so forth. This means arahantship. But when you attain to sotapanna, sakadagami, and anagami level, you have broken down type of upadana to the level of your practice. Yes, Dr. Priya.
Bhante, I think the first sermon itself is very clear. Dhammacakka, Buddha talks about Sankitena Panchupatana Skandha Dukkha. From there, he goes to the second one, which is the Anatma Lakkhana. We talk about the 5 aggregates. So it's very quickly, he covers pretty much everything. First and the Panchavaggi is the second one. And where they become arahats, all 5. So I think that covers pretty much everything without going to all the sutras.
That's true.
1 and 2 is done. Anyway, I think anyway,
that's interesting. And if you take the first sutta as recorded, first sutta and second sutta, so you take everything into your consideration. Everything is there.
Everything is there.
Yeah, I didn't read the last part because it's also about Vedana, the different. The question is asked, what is the opposite of pleasant feeling? It's painful feeling. What is the opposite of painful being? It's something like that. You may read that part, but very last thing the Sutta says is really interesting. When Visakha asked a question about Nirvana, what is the opposite of liberation? This is the question. Now, what is the opposite of or counterpart of liberation? Nirvana also, Visakha, is the opposite of liberation. Nirvana is the opposite of liberation. So we mean when you attain to liberation, you have to know about it. That's called Vimutti Palanyana. So you are in Vimutti. You have to know it. Then only you complete it. So that is what it is. Then the next question is the end of the conversation. What is the opposite of Nirvana? Below Nirvana, you can see opposite and this side and counterpart. But with Nirvana, you cannot do it. Visakha, you have exceeded the question. You have gone beyond the questioning. You are unable to grasp the limit of the question. So, Visakha, the holy life is grounded in Nirvana, has Nirvana as the Pasho, Nirvana as its end. And if you wish, Visakha, you might approach the Blessed One to ask him about the meaning of this and remember what he answers you. So finally, Dhammadinna says, you go to the Buddha and ask these questions and don't believe on my words. And please tell what I have already told you, and what the Buddha said with regard to what I say should be accepted by you. Then we see that Visakha, having fully approved of the Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna's word, rose from his seat, and later he went to the Buddha, and having gone to the Buddha, he related everything, and what the Buddha said is this: Visakha, wise is the Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna of great wisdom. Visakha, it is the Visakha Dhammadinna is really wise. Visakha, if you had asked me about its meaning, I too would have explained it in just the same way as has been explained by Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna. Such indeed is the so the Buddha admired Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna, and Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna, according to the available sources, is declared as the foremost of explaining Dhamma, because Bhikkhuni Dhammadinna had attained to Arahantship with Patidambida Jnana. So one of the greatest Bhikkhuni in the Sasana, in Gautam Buddha's Sasana. So that is the end of the Sutta discussion for today. I encourage you to take the discourse to read carefully and understand the Dhamma perhaps better than we discussed. That is the end of today's Sutta discussion. Wish to see you next week with a new discourse. Until then, may you all be well, happy and peaceful. May you attain Nirvana very soon. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.